All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going on a really fascinating journey. Not to some far-off place, but deep inside a particular way of thinking. We're going to explore the philosophy of a 19th century sage named Vallalar, and it offers a pretty profound way of looking at ourselves and the world around us. So let's start that journey inward.
So, we have to start with a question that seems almost ridiculously simple, but it's actually the bedrock of this whole philosophy. What is knowledge? Seriously, what is it? Is it just a bunch of facts you memorize? Stuff you read in a book or see on a screen?
Well, get this. This tradition has a pretty surprising answer. It says that true knowledge, what you might call pure consciousness, it actually has a color. And no, that's not just some poetic metaphor. It's a core teaching. So, what color do you think it is?
Pure white. Yeah, the color of total clarity, purity, and focus. You know, think about it. The goddess of knowledge, Saraswati, is always shown wearing white. The flag that Vallalar himself raised was white. This isn't a coincidence. That whiteness stands for a state of pure, undiluted, focused awareness.
So this white knowledge, this pure awareness, is described as our natural state. It's basically our factory setting. It's who we really are at our core. But if that's true, then why doesn't it feel that way most of the time? Well, it's because something is constantly getting in the way, clouding up that natural clarity.
The key word here is arivu. Now in Tamil, that means knowledge or consciousness. But it's so important to get this. It's not about knowing a lot of stuff. Arivu is the state of being itself. It's a pure, focused awareness that's already inside all of us, just kind of buried under everything else.
And that leads us right to the central problem, doesn't it? If our natural state is this bright white light of awareness, what's blocking it? Why do our minds feel so cluttered and, well, so chaotic most of the time?
To explain this, the philosophy uses this really powerful analogy. I want you to picture that each one of us is like a pot, and it's filled right to the very top with this precious, vital life energy. And this energy, that's our focus, it's our attention, it's our consciousness.
The problem, and you can see it right here in the analogy, is that our pot has leaks. 5 big ones, actually. Our 5 senses. So every time we look at something without any real purpose, or listen to just distracting noise, or mindlessly indulge our senses, a little bit of that vital energy just leaks right out. It's spent on the outside world.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. We spend our time knowing things we shouldn't know, instead of knowing the one thing we should, ourselves. Think about that. We pour all our energy into collecting external data, but we totally neglect our own inner world.
Okay, so we're leaky pots, constantly draining our precious energy through our senses. I know, it sounds a little bleak. But the good news is, the philosophy doesn't just point out the problem. It gives us a very practical solution. It lays out this clear path to start plugging those leaks and turning our attention back inward.
The key concept we need to understand is patru, which translates to attachment. Now, the goal isn't to become detached from everything. That's a huge misconception. The real goal is to redirect our attachment. So instead of being attached to all the temporary, fleeting things in the outside world, we shift that focus. We attach to the constant, eternal presence that's right inside us. That's how you reverse the flow.
And the very first practical step is called Indriya Orukam, basically the discipline of the senses. Now, this is not about sensory deprivation. You don't have to lock yourself in a dark room. It's simply about taking back conscious control, choosing not to let your eyes just wander around aimlessly, or choosing not to let your ears soak in harsh negative words. You're just starting to plug the holes in that leaky pot one by one.
So once we start to quiet down the senses, the next tool we use is vasi. And while it's the Tamil word for breath, it means so much more than just the air going in and out of our lungs. Vasi is seen as the subtle life force that actually carries our consciousness. It's the vehicle for this whole inward journey. By learning to watch it, you learn to guide your own mind.
And I love this part. The philosophy gets incredibly specific about when to practice. It points to these ambrosial hours, early in the morning, Between 3:30 and 6 a.m., the air itself is said to have this special, life-giving quality. And there's a second window, late at night, from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. It makes sense, right? At those times, the world is quiet, our daily duties are done, and it's just plain easier to do this inner work without being interrupted.
So, you start quieting the senses, you start focusing on the breath, but where is all this leading? What's the destination of this journey? Well, it's about finding out who is truly in charge of your life.
And that's a question really worth sitting with for a moment. Who is actually in charge? Think about all the different authorities in your life. Who do you look to for guidance, for direction?
We look to all kinds of external leaders, don't we? We have leaders in our family, leaders in our community, leaders of our country. And of course, these roles are important. They provide structure for our outer lives.
But this philosophy points to a simple and kind of challenging truth about all of them. They are temporary. They come and they go. They're impermanent, which means any security we base on them is by its very nature a little unstable.
And this is where the whole perspective flips on its head. The philosophy says that the only permanent, unwavering leader isn't out there somewhere. It's the silent, conscious presence inside your own mind, that arivu we talked about earlier. That is the one and only authority that will never, ever leave you. Now, this whole path of self-discipline and inner discovery, it isn't just about living a calmer life or being a bit more focused. It has a grand, almost unbelievable ambition. The ultimate purpose of this whole thing is to completely transcend our normal human limits.
And here we are. The ultimate goal is to achieve what's called saga nilai, which means a deathless state. And we're not just talking about living a really long time. We're talking about a claim that you can transform the physical body through this spiritual practice to a point where it's no longer even subject to disease, old age, or death itself.
But, and this is a massive but, a really critical point, this state is not some gift. It's not something that's just handed to you for asking nicely. The texts are crystal clear. It requires 100% of your own personal effort. It's the natural result of dedicated, consistent, daily practice of turning the mind inward.
This final quote really just wraps the whole thing up. It says that by focusing inward with true love, that's that redirected attachment we talked about, a kind of divine grace will manifest from within. And through that internal process, it becomes possible to get a body free from fear, disease, old age, and death.
So, wow. We went from a simple question about knowledge all the way to this quest for a deathless body. It's a profound path, but just remember, it all starts with that very first, very practical step, just plugging the leaks in the pot. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Looking at your own life, what's the first distraction, the first little energy leak that you would choose to let go of? Thanks for watching.